Exactly. Yep.
Awesome. I think we're set. Yeah, awesome. Like John said, my name is Jonathan Clem. And most recently, I'd say my life has definitely taken a 180, maybe even a 360 since the last time I was presenting here with John. Most people share pictures of their kids. I don't have any kids, but that's my niece and nephew. And really my background is really based in as a general contractor for my entire life. I worked for Walsh Construction, which is local to Chicago, but actually international. I traveled pretty much around the world and kind of worked on any real construction project you can think of. So water, transportation, bridges, highways, tunnels, commercial buildings, residential buildings. And then probably about 9 years into my career, I decided I need to get a little more focused and aligned with real estate. And it was really at that time where I just started seeking out a different job that could kind of help me align my career with real estate. And then I transitioned and started working for a prop tech company called Nest Egg. I was at Nest Egg for about 2 years, and really it was during that time that I kind of just got a way better understanding of technology and kind of like what industries are ahead and behind. And it was really then that I kind of got the idea of starting a general contractor company that was a little more focused on technology and really also transparency. I think that's, if there's two things really lacking in this industry, it's definitely technology and transparency. What we used to compare like the airline business too is you go to a travel agency, go to the mall to book a flight. Now you whip out your phone and get a flight on United in 5 minutes, right? And I think, if there's any, real estate's definitely behind in the technology sense, but construction and general contracting is even further behind, in my opinion. Like most of the guys who are out there have been doing it for the longest time possible. And so really, I started the business Quality Builders. We're focused on working with real estate investors specifically because we really kind of understand the pain it is to be a real estate investor. And so that was about 6 to 8 months ago that we kind of actually jumped off and started and kind of have used one of my projects. I have a project that I presented on the last time, but we hadn't started construction yet. So we kind of used this project to kind of like really focus on all our processes and systems. And then it was probably about 4 months into last year when I decided I like had to have some more help. And then I reached out to one of my best friends, Tom Zidron, who's also here. And I'll just let him give a quick background on himself and then kind of move forward to talking a little bit more about the project and kind of our lessons learned and hopefully give you guys some pointers to, bring some value to you and help you any way we can.
All right, thanks, John. I already started introducing myself, but I'm Tom Zidron. As John said, he reached out to me, right around the same time as COVID. It was around May or April of last year, and he kind of pitched me on this idea and told me everything that he's been doing. I've seen him start kind of his real estate career, I guess, 3-4 years ago, whatever it may have been, and I've seen him grow from when he started down in Louisville, where we met on our job. I also worked for Walsh Construction as well, and kind of take off, flipping a house to getting a 2-unit to the next 2-unit and so on and so forth. So I've seen him, be very successful, and I've always kind of envied that, and I knew that was something I wanted to be involved in as well. We went through kind of a bunch of conversations about how we're going to do this, and he kind of got me sold on it, and I told him I'd definitely be willing to help him, and we last May kind of dove in, kind of working almost a second job, helping him out with that, kind of on the side. Started that project that he's talking about, and just a few months ago now, or I guess a month ago, I actually left my job, and we're now going full force with it. So pretty exciting stuff. Definitely going to be an exciting journey. So we'll dive right into it, though.
Yeah, awesome. But yeah, definitely, if there's one way to like describe Tom and my relationship, it's definitely I'm the guy who's like jumping out of plane, forgetting his parachute, and Tom's like throwing it back down, like keeping us reined in, because I'm definitely like the guy who's all over the place doing way too many things at once. I need to read the book, the one thing about 5 more times so I can stay a little bit more focused. But yeah, so definitely focus on working with real estate investors. Our team is made up of real estate investors, real estate brokers. I'm a broker myself. I actually just got my managing broker's license recently. So kind of doing a little bit of that as well. And then we also have, all of our background is in construction. A few of us are Walsh employees. We have a couple guys in the field who have been working in the trades their entire life. And so we kind of have a really good team set up to work with investors and kind of understand, the struggles that you guys have been with. Like it's not fun. I've personally been there myself, getting screwed over by contractors, and I've been a contractor my entire life. So shame on me for that time. And it was actually on this property, 2331 Montana, which we're going to get into. But yeah, I love construction. I love real estate. I really even more love helping people. I'm always available. I got my contact information here at the end of the presentation, and always, looking to network, talk with anyone who needs help. And so we just want to be a resource for you down the road, however we can help. So this is the property here. I didn't have pictures last time I presented. And so I thought it'd be good if we kind of walked you through the entire process again, and gave you kind of an overview. So the house on the right in the lower right-hand picture is 2333 West Montana. And I also purchased the lot next door, which is 2331 West Montana. And that is where we worked on our ground up construction. So the deal was $665,000 purchase price for the building and the lot. And then I ended up rehabbing the building, and we put about 120, maybe 130 into that, and we got rehab that. And then basically I was able to refinance that building and basically take that lien and put it on the building only, so that I owned the lot free and clear. And then I was able to use the lot equity to fund the actual construction project. My tenants in the building, the only reason I highlighted that basketball hoop, we had to take it down when we started construction, and my tenants were just not happy at all. They were shooting hoops on a regular basis. There are actually 3 girls who just graduated, and they played basketball surprisingly more than you would expect. I don't have my notes, so I'm looking at my phone too, just caveat while I'm looking away from the camera. But that's all I got. So yeah, we got rehab 2330 West Montana Street, and I purchased it in mid 2017. So this is a project, long time coming. We finished the renovation at the end of 2017. And then I started working on the initial plans for 2331, middle of 2018. I was still working full-time for Walsh at this time. And so I was really kind of cash flowing all of this out of my own pocket to kind of fund the plans, pay the architect, get a zoning attorney set up, because I had problem after problem after problem after problem after problem with building on the lot that, just comes from inexperience and really just not knowing what you don't know. And so I'm definitely more of the kind of the trial by fire person. And so kind of pushed through this whole project. We originally submitted plans to do a 2-unit condo building. And there's actually a legality, basically, because the lot got rezoned to RT4, but the building was still zoned MF 1.2. And basically, because the building and lot were at one time joined, you basically end up having to rezone the building, even though the lot's already buildable. And so I had to go through a zoning change. We had to resubmit our plans 2 or 3 times. And then the end of the hurdle, I think, is when I presented last time, was the financing. And really it took me, I want to say 5 or 6 different banks at minimum to find someone who, funding a big, $650,000 development is not something, it's not easy to find someone who's willing to kind of give you a chance on your first project. I kind of outlined some more of what all happened, but basically also what happened was they had originally taken measurements to rezone, when the previous developer had tried to rezone my building and a lot. And actually the paperwork actually rezoned the house next door to my lot. So that's why I ended up having to do the zoning change for the actual building, was because they rezoned the wrong building from the previous developer. And then after I got the zoning change, I needed a side yard variance because my building was too close to the lot. And also, I don't know if you can ask questions, but I should have said something earlier. If you have questions, I think there's a way to type them into the chat. And so feel free to type them in there and I'll answer anything as time goes on. And I'm gonna let Tom kind of take it from here on the actual construction phase, because he really, honestly, probably knows the project better than me at this point, and kind of just help you guys understand the sequencing of ground up construction, which would seem relatively straightforward, but is honestly a little bit more complicated than I'd like to admit, at least for doing it the first time.
Yeah, thanks, John. Luckily I did not have to go through the early stages and the trials and tribulations that John did, but like he said, I took over to kind of help him with this once we actually broke ground in September of last year. So we've been going on for 6-7 months now, and we're pretty close to the end at this point. So we have just kind of our floor plan here. It's a single family home rather than the condo building or the 2-unit that John was discussing. So here's kind of just a rough idea of what we're looking at here. You got 3.1 baths, 5 bedrooms, so it's quite the building. So go to the next slide here and we'll get rolling on some of the photos. All right, so obviously like anything in Chicago, you have these smaller lots, so it's a pretty tight space, but you got to get the right contractors in. Make sure you pull all the necessary permits before you start work, obviously. And one of the keys is you want to set up all your contractors, at least the early stages ahead of time. Make sure that if you're working with a general contractor, great. If you're working with subs individually, it's another story. You want to make sure you have everything in line so you're able to kind of seamlessly move from subcontractor to subcontractor, and aren't scrambling, having space in between while you're trying to set up the next one. So obviously everyone wants to flip these as soon as possible. I talking to John, obviously him being the owner of this, I hear from him every day, we got to finish. So we're doing our best, and obviously you want to lay out to your contractor, your subcontractor, whatever. You need to let them know, you have to let them know what your goal is, what you're shooting for, so everyone's on the same page. We tell it to each other all the time, but you're only gonna finish something up in a timely manner if you shoot for a specific goal. If you think you're not going to finish till May or June, often you find yourself finishing in May or June. So you gotta set your sights high and make sure everyone's on the same page. All right, let's see the next one there. So, once we got our foundation in, we started from the ground up. Obviously, that's the whole point of this. So, it's kind of phasing the subcontractors that became not difficult, but obviously it's getting one contractor in a timely manner can be a challenge in itself. But making sure you kind of get certain subs in between. We had our concrete sub in doing all the excavation and then concrete work, and then had to bring in our plumbers here, like you can see in the middle picture, to do all the underground plumbing there. So rolling right into the framer. So to be honest, early on, these types of phases that are necessary for ground up, and you don't get as much experience on. Luckily, we had some very good subcontractors came in, knocked it out pretty much in a seamless manner. They went from start to finish. The next one came in, and we were really rolling at that point.
Yeah. I'll comment one thing is one of the other awesome things about our subs is because I had networked really for 2 years straight working with Nest Egg and really promoting that, I was able to really grow my network, and that's really kind of how I was able to find a lot of our subs, is just through networking. And having subs who have good relationships with the city is a complete game changer. They understand how the inspections work. They understand how pulling all the permits work. They really helped us get a really good understanding of how it works, how to do it faster, how to do it quicker. And I specifically mentioned that just because I see the underground plumbing there, and I know that was one of the things where it just went really smooth. They knew exactly when to come out, who to call, how to set it up.
Yeah, we've definitely created a pretty good team of subcontractors, in varying categories and really all types of work right now. So definitely a benefit for us. So you see here, we just rolled right into framing. Framing was fairly seamless. Probably only a couple weeks, had the whole house framed out, and then the roofer came in there on the right after the whole entire house was wrapped. You go to the next one, and then really you roll right into your heavy interior work, and I mean that's where, again, like John said, having some of our subcontractors was great. You look at, sometimes you have these drawings, a lot going on in them. You get your good subcontractors who are able to decipher the plans and come up with the questions, and really discuss layouts of things, and make sure that they're able to work with you on the drawings. The plans are obviously what everyone follows, but at the end of the day, they're not always going to be 100% correct. And I think that's a lesson learned that we had. You always got to make sure to review the plans with the subcontractors, make sure everything, everyone's on the same page and everything will work out the way that it's supposed to. So one of our other big lessons learned that I would, for certain owners of units, it's whether or not they want to be picking out finishes and being involved in the selection process. So I'm not sure, what your all's experience is, if you like to hand it over to the subcontractors and contractors, or if that's the decision that you're usually making. But I know for us, and upon picking the finishes, making sure there's a clear scope of work with and everyone's on the same page, owner, subcontractor, GC, it really helps. And we've been able to create finish schedules, pretty involved spreadsheets, kind of laying out everything, from price to lead times to just the size and just sort of options for our owners and everything. And it's really been we've gotten great feedback on it. It's been, I think, very successful, just to make sure I was on the same page early on as well. Because one of our issues we did run into with the MEPs and our finishes is, your drawings lay out can lights, and they lay out where your plumbing will go. But what they don't lay out or specify is what you're putting there. Are you putting a chandelier? Are you putting a special light fixture? Some special, special shower valve of some sort. So if you're not ready for that when you start MEPs, your subcontractors or contractors are going to install your MEPs per the drawings, and they're not going to be wrong, but it's not going to be able to you're not going to be able to have the end product that maybe you're looking for. So again, just something you definitely want to be on the same page early and often with your subcontractors.
Yeah, we hired a designer too, and so she picked out a lot of the finishes. And typically you can have some designers, you can have them set up and do reflected ceiling plans, which it would kind of lay out all of the finishes. But it gets pretty pricey. I want to say, just to give you a ballpark, I think our designer was about roughly $6,000, and she did all the finishes, came up with a finish schedule that we kind of utilized, and she did a great job. Like, honestly, I think it's a beautiful house. We're getting ready to list it soon, and I think it's going to sell pretty quick. Sure,
definitely. Yeah, I think there's just a wide variety of design, things that we can get done for us, but at the same time, on this project like this, a $1 million+ home, definitely wanted to go to some of the professionals, but at the same time, I think we have a little bit of experience ourselves, selecting finishes on the simpler end, maybe for some flips and whatnot. So we've been working with clients on that as well. Like I said, with the finish schedule, if they don't necessarily have as much say or don't want to give as much input on the flooring type or what bathtub to use and everything, we do have experience with ourselves and our subcontractors, and have been able to work with owners and to come up with a great quality product in the end. Let's see here. So here you go. Obviously on the outside here, this is when we really started rolling with some of the exterior work. You see the brickwork being finished there in the front. the garage being foundation on the back end of the house there, and then on the right, still that same foundation. Well, you see, some snow, and I think everyone's aware of that, especially being in the Chicago market. You can't get away from some bad weather, and I think we did have some particularly bad weather kind of on and off throughout January and February this year. Not that it's not expected, but at the same time, always a little bit of a disappointment when you kind of get shut down. And you're always going to have some sorts of work that are obviously more affected by weather. Obviously most of your exterior work, your brick, your siding, concrete work especially. But one thing that maybe we weren't necessarily aware of is we didn't have the heating on in the house, and the drywall guy was like, well, I can't really do the drywall if it's that cold out. So we had to heat the entire house while we were doing all the drywall during some of the below freezing days. Obviously an added cost, but at the end of the day, sometimes the schedule is certainly worth pushing through. So we made it through, and we kept rolling with it. So right. In the back here, another lesson learned we had was just we kind of talked about the phasing of work. One thing I think we all wish we would have done is continued with the water service and sanitary line and done that early on. Our original plan, we kind of thought about doing that while we still had right after we did the foundation and everything. But, for whatever reason, we ended up pushing forward, with the exterior work and obviously the interior work, the framing and everything, we wanted the framing to get done to get the MEPs done and get everything on the interior rolling, and kind of maybe put the exterior work to the wayside there. And at the end of the day, because of the delays with weather, we ended up starting to dig and hit freezing temperatures for weeks. And, to be honest, we had an open hole just sitting in our front yard for weeks. And it was painful to watch it just sit like that for that extended period of time. But, obviously we got that tapped in. And again, that's another example of getting the right subcontractors and who have a great relationship with the city. That couldn't have went better. And I was worried about it. Anytime you having to deal with the city and trying to tap into their system, and anything could happen at that point. And couldn't have gone better at that point though. So that went very well.
Yeah, that was around the time when we got feel like the snow was up about 36 inches, at least around my house in Bucktown. It was just ridiculously high, and it just kept pushing and pushing and pushing, and there was really nothing we could do. So kind of, we should have just done it so much earlier.
Yeah. So go to the next one. So now we'll kind of go into the interior. Obviously, we're a lot different than the last time you saw it in these photos. So drywall is all completed this time. It's all primed and ready for paint. Cabinets went in. You can keep rolling on that, John. And then we obviously kind of rolled into our tile. So our bottom floor, our whole basement actually has that tile on the right side. We installed the coils and everything for radiant floor heating. Obviously a nicer feature there with having the tile there in Chicago during the winter would certainly not be very kind to most people. So I think that'll be a nice feature for them. Some interesting features, a little bit of an upscale bathroom upstairs for the master. We're doing a very kind of enlarged shower there on the right side. So you'll see that'll eventually have big wall slabs there. That's coming in the next week or so. And then that'll be a large shower with a rain shower, as well as your handheld and your whole shower system. So I think that might be it for the photos. I think we're rolling. We didn't have anything yet. The hardwood floor is rolling right now. And like John kind of said, we're probably a few weeks away from listing, and really looking forward to what the end product looks like and selling this as soon as possible.
Yeah, and I know everyone likes to see numbers, so there's pretty much our exact numbers. So we purchased, the land acquisition isn't extremely clear, right? Because we bought it as a double lot, but that's probably about the estimated cost versus what the structure was worth. Tons of extra zoning and permitting costs that I paid, extra architecture costs that I paid for the extra design. Construction cost was honestly not extremely far off from where we planned on being. We didn't have a ton of change orders. We stayed pretty well ahead of it. We had some savings on some of the finishes. Holding costs, basically interest on the loan, taxes, utilities, which are still going on until we close. So roughly we're all in at about $959,000. And we are listing hopefully right around 1.2 to 1.5 mil, or 1.15 million in the next couple weeks. And so hopefully that's roughly a net profit of 145, which is a little slim, I would say. But I guess the only thing I would say is you have to factor in that because I basically bird the house as well. So I basically got a free and clear building out of it too. So I got all my money back out of that building and was able to invest that elsewhere as well. Yeah, I just added some other slides just because I thought hopefully it could bring some value to you guys as far as like, working with subs, things we're used to. I think that's like the big difference with what we're trying to do at Quality Builders is coming from that large scale construction. Tom and I've been working on, this is a $600,000 project. Like the project we worked on in Louisville was 900 million. Me, I've worked on other 300 million, 150 million, 40 million. So it's just like, gigantic numbers compared to what you're seeing here. And so those systems and processes that are just ingrained and drilled into us from Walsh are honestly the exact same systems and processes that you can be using in this smaller residential market. And so that's really what we're trying to do is just take all of these systems and processes that we're used to, like schedule values and scope of worksheets, and really leverage technology. We're using project management software where you're getting updates, daily reports with pictures and I think we're doing monthly budget updates and then weekly schedule updates to really kind of show where you're at with your project. But some of the things here, my first point is just like really know when you're signing up with a GC or subcontractor or really any business that you're doing in general, like really get to know the person. Like I think some of the mistakes I've made just personally are just like rushing into doing a deal and not really knowing who I'm working with and like, do they really have, the integrity? Like our core values at Quality Builders are integrity, transparency, and courage to kind of be getting uncomfortable with what we're doing, can continue to push to do things differently, which in the construction industry, it's just, there's so much room for change that that it's just it's an open canvas for us to hopefully change the country is kind of our end goal, is to really expand out and make it into a big business, but really understand the process that the people that are working with you, and understand like, when are they going to be requesting money? How soon are they going to need money up front? Can you get any pictures of their past projects? Can you talk to past clients? And then just understand kind of the basic costs of what you need done. Like there's decent enough websites out there that you can at least figure out how much a kitchen is going to cost, how much a bath is going to cost. If you're doing a gut rehab, if you know how many square feet it is, you can ballpark at least roundabout costs. And that's kind of like the other thing I just want to continue to bring up. Like if you guys need help, need any feedback on projects you have going on, like more than happy to help connect and figure out, what the right cost is for some of those projects, because it's not easy to figure out if you're not used to doing it. And then the last thing I had was just schedule working scope of worksheets. So these are some of the examples that we use, just really kind of defining exactly who's going to do what and how much it's going to cost. Last thing I put on here was just really about understanding financing. And so we've kind of worked through all these different financing options now, and they're all different. And so for us, the standard institutional bank financing, Tom can definitely attest to working with the title company. It's extremely time consuming. You have to get lien waivers from all of our subs. We have to get sworn statements that are notarized, which in my opinion is just completely, like the Stone Age. Like they don't use DocuSign. You have to give them the original copy. It's honestly just way over the top. And so we prefer working with hard money lenders because inspections are quick and easy. We know the inspectors pretty well. At least, we've worked with Renovo Financial quite a bit. and the draw process is quick. We're talking, 24 to 48 hours after inspection, opposed to the institutional financing, which maybe, Tom, how long, like 2 weeks, 3 weeks?
Yeah, it's been weeks before. I mean, and just getting a hold of them is often difficult.
Right. And then we have home style, home path renovation loans, which definitely take a little bit more upfront work, paperwork. Once we're set up with the different banks, it becomes quite a bit easier. And then obviously the FHA 203K, which is kind of a lot of investors' favorite go-to to get going, but it's just honestly way more complicated than you think until you've kind of gotten into the whole process. I put that picture of the banker up there because I thought it was funny. No bankers are throwing money at you unless you got a really good one. And then kind of my last points I had on here were the same kind of like 3 kind of recommendations, themes that have kind of gone in through my life, that I think if anyone takes, wants to get into real estate investing or really kind of just wants to be successful in whatever they're doing, if you take action, if you're reading at Quality Builders, we have like 5 books that we actually kind of like base the company on. Dare to Lead, which is a Brene Brown book. Traction, which is kind of an operations book. How to Win Friends and Influence People. The Lean Startup. And what's the last book? Tom, do you remember?
The Investor.
Yes, The E-Myth by Michael Gerber. Thank you. And so yeah, that's kind of like required reading for us and anyone coming on our team, because it's really kind of like how our business is set up to build systems and kind of really follow those books to a T. And then the last thing is just networking, doing what we're all doing right now. I can't even explain to you how much an effect networking has had on my life, and just really being able to expand kind of rapidly to do a lot of different things pretty quickly. And I'd have if you guys have any questions, need to contact us, put our contact information in there, and happy to help you guys. And then like any questions, I don't know if John can take anyone off mute or if there's any specific questions on the actual process, but open for Q&A.
Yeah, that was awesome, guys. That was really, really great. So yeah, typically now we would do like a kind of a short question and answer session. There was just a ton of great stuff there, so I'm sure people have questions. I believe they can unmute themselves. Yeah, go for it. Anybody that has questions for either of these guys.
My question was simply going to be, what's your contact information? Because I'm driving, so I couldn't look at everything, but yeah, I see it's on the screen now. But thanks for giving that presentation, though. That really was a lot, very helpful.
No problem.
Hi, John.
I had one. Oh, sorry, guys. I was going to say I had one quick question that maybe will be similar to other people's. But do you prefer the new construction or remodeling? And I guess why? Which would you enjoy more?
I personally enjoy the remodeling more, and I think that's really just because it's a lot more problem solving than the new construction, right? And that's really kind of what I enjoy, is like figuring out how to do things that aren't as easy. The ground up construction for us was really a perfect kind of first project to really kind of build our network, get our team put together, build our systems, build our processes. But all the other renovations that I've done, at least in the past, I've kind of enjoyed those more. Typically, like the one thing I always say about construction is it's always going to cost more, and it's always going to take longer than you think. Like there's no like question about it. Like I would tell any client that we have coming to talk to us that like we're not going to be on time and it's going to cost more. Like doesn't matter. In my opinion, like I've never been on a project in my entire career that's been on time and under budget. It's just not. It's not likely. There's just so many unknowns once you're like taking down walls and there's old pipes behind it. It's just like you can only plan it for what you see, right? And so you always want to have some money built into your budget as kind of the contingency. And so we'll do ground up all day, I'd say, because it's a little simpler and more streamlined, but would prefer the bigger multifamilies. That's really kind of where we want to get into, is really the kind of, hopefully that under 30 unit mark. Just because I think once you get over that, you have a lot of contractors who are getting, I won't say more sophisticated, but they have decent systems and processes in place where kind of in this smaller residential space, it's just wide open with not, I wouldn't say, I guess I would kind of call them cowboys, right? There's a lot of guys who are kind of just out of their truck. They've done it their whole life and they're good at it. But as far as like scaling a business, I wouldn't say they are able to, because they're doing so much of the work themselves.
Yeah, I would agree. Definitely on the renovations. The ground up has been, interesting itself. You get a little more experience in some different trades maybe that you don't get in the remodel, but at the same time, just seeing the kind of the before and after, and really, the end result from where it might start, and you see some really rundown buildings, and the end result of what what you all are able to do, and we're able to do as well. And I think that's even more rewarding than the ground up.
Any other questions from the group? Go for it. This is your chance.
Hi, John, Tom. Thank you for your time. My name is Cinto. First off, I just wanted to get some clarification. Do you guys do GC services, or are you guys in general contracting?
Yep, that's definitely what we're doing. So
Okay,
we got our GC license and pull permits and all the whole 9 yards.
beautiful. My second question is, so you talk about how you're focused on bringing technology and transparency to the industry. I definitely get the transparency part, but can you talk a little bit more about how you're bringing technology? Like, do you mean like, are you guys building like apps, or are you using apps, or can you explain a little more about how you're bringing technology to the industry?
Want to take this to start, Tom?
Sure. Yeah, I'll take the start. We're using some general contracting software that has an owner portal. So when people are building with us, they are able to access that. We post daily logs and photos for them to check out. I know we've had some people that are really, really happy about that, given that sometimes their projects aren't really that close. So rather than having to travel half hour to their project, they can log onto the computer and kind of see some photos. I've talked to them directly, and we have we're very, very available. At the end of the day, we're not someone who you're going to call and get no answer from. So at the end of we get calls. He wants to see what the drywall in the bathroom looks like. Well, we'll make sure that gets into the daily report the next day. So we're very interactive and very hands-on with our owners. Working with them to get the best quality product. Similar to the daily logs in that same program, we'll have our schedule, which will get updated weekly for sure. I mean, if not more often. Change orders can go directly through that, and then budget as well. All of it can be shown on there. Just tracking the project from start to finish. That's our main source right now. I guess, John, you have anything more to explain?
Yeah, I think eventually like our end goal too is like the system allows for like finishes to get approved and kind of build kind of a monster database of finishes. And originally kind of when we were starting out, I was totally focused on building software. But after doing a ton of research, like it's not in the space, it's not really that there's a lack of good software available. It's that people in this space really aren't using the software that's available. And I guess at least in my experience, like definitely maybe there's some using it. I just haven't come across people who are really kind of like leveraging the project management software that's available, and kind of like really building out their websites, really kind of, and focusing even on the back end. Like we use a lot of kind of like tech friendly project management software. We use Asana on the back end, Slack. Obviously, we do a lot of Zooming and Google Meetups and all that type of stuff. And we'll actually do Google Meetups walkthroughs for all of our clients and our own team. Tom's in New York, and he's managing all the projects. So we're kind of using technology in all aspects, client facing and kind of internally as a team.
Yeah, Asana is great. Yeah, I definitely understand how you're saying how adoption is like a key thing there. And then for my last question, you said you are willing to work up to 30 units, you said, or 29 units?
Yeah, I don't think we have a specific cap. I just threw out a number because that's kind of the space we're trying to focus on, really.
Okay. Yeah, that's it for me. Thank you, gentlemen. And yeah.
Thank you.
We probably have time for maybe one or two more questions before we round out. Anybody have kind of a last question for these guys?
Yeah, just real quick, what area do you guys serve?
So we're based in Chicago in the city, and then pretty much we have enough contractors, subcontractors set up to cover about 30 miles from the city center. So, and it really kind of also depends on the project size, right? Some of our guys are willing to travel a bit further for some bigger projects, and we're really trying to focus on bigger projects in general, just because that's kind of how we're set up as a team. And it really takes a similar amount of time to work on a $30,000 project as like $100,000 million project. And so really we can go out as far as Elgin because that's where I'm from. So I have pretty good connections out in that area. Makes it a little easier, but yeah, probably about Elgin, maybe think Aurora, maybe down south toward like Dalton area and up north towards, I don't know, Evanston.
Okay.
But really kind of just, I would say depends on the project. Like if it's a big enough project, we can definitely coordinate and find the right team to go down there.
Okay. Thank you.
So I think we're in a good spot here to kind of round this out for tonight. I want to be respectful of everyone's time. But Jonathan, Tom, thank you guys so much. This was awesome. Love seeing the numbers, love seeing the gritty photos and hearing about all the things that don't go right with construction, because it's always like that. I think you guys add a lot of value. And obviously anybody here that's interested in connecting with them, one thing I can tell you about Jonathan is he's a big time networker. So you can always reach out to him. He'll ping you back right away. He's a great guy. I'm always running into him on Bigger Pockets pretty much every day. So thanks again for coming, everybody. This was great. We will be doing this the same time, same place next month, last Tuesday of the month. And keep your eyes peeled. We may be in person at some point next month. We have Vivek Das, an attorney. He's going to be with us, talking a little bit about entity structure, what you do if you get sued, how not to get sued, that kind of good stuff. That's what he does. So it should be really fun. So cool. Thanks again for coming, everybody. We will round this thing out. Have a great night.
Thank you, John.
Thank you,
Awesome.
John.
Thank you.
Appreciate your hosting.
Thanks.
Yes, thank you.
For sure, guys.
Thank you.
Thanks, everyone.
See you all later.